Last weekend, we drove to visit my 85-year-old father. We were reminiscing about family, and he made an offhand comment about wanting his father's approval shortly before his dad passed decades ago. Then he said something I think I'll never forget. I think most people want their parents' approval, and they don't feel completely free to be themselves until their parents are gone. Wow, I was shocked. I've always seen my dad as strong-willed, independent, not someone who's ever needed anyone's approval. He's a kind man, but he never struck me as someone who struggled with people-pleasing at all, and certainly not to the degree that I used to. I'm 57 now, and even though I've done a lot of work in recent years to move past that old pattern, I'll admit I still find myself every now and then looking for just a little approval, a little validation. It's not nearly as strong as it used to be, but I know it's not gone either. And that conversation got me thinking about how many of us, especially in midlife, are still quietly, unconsciously trying to please our parents. Even with years or decades of growth and independence behind us, many of us still feel that pull to earn approval, especially from our parents. This still happens even when they've been loving and supportive. Let's normalize this. If you still notice yourself seeking their approval or hesitating to be fully yourself around them, you're not broken, you're not weak, you're not immature, you're human. It just means your nervous system remembers what it learned a long time ago. Because when we were young, pleasing our parents wasn't just polite, it was survival. Approval meant connection. Disapproval meant tension, withdrawal, maybe shame. So our minds and bodies learned to associate safety with performance. We had to be a certain way and push certain buttons, not only to get approval, but probably more importantly, to avoid disapproval. We weren't just trying to be loved, we were trying to stay safe. Over time, those patterns became part of our operating system. So even as adults, we might still hold back. We might still soften the truth. We might feel subtle guilt for living a life that doesn't match the one they had in mind. And a lot of the time, it's not that obvious. Sometimes it shows up like saying yes to a family gathering, even when it drains you, holding back your real opinions to avoid disappointing them, making life choices based on their values, even when they don't fit who you are anymore. Even if your parents are no longer here, that voice can live on in your head, sometimes louder than your own. And you're not responding to them anymore. You're responding to what you think they'd say. And the thing is, not all of that internalized guidance is bad. Some of it shaped your character, your work ethic, your values. But not all of it still fits, and that's what matters. And not all of it belongs to the person you've become. So I think it's worth asking, what am I still doing out of obligation? What values am I still performing that don't feel true anymore? And what would I choose if I weren't afraid of disappointing them or that voice of them? And let's be clear, this isn't about blaming your parents. Most of them did the best they could with what they had. And the truth is, many of them were carrying the same struggle, trying to please their parents. They just didn't talk about it. But at some point, we have to ask, who gets to steer my life now? And if the answer is still a voice from childhood, or even just an idea of that voice, maybe it's time to pause and reevaluate. One of the most powerful things you can do is notice the moments when you shrink, when you edit yourself, when you hesitate. And instead of shaming yourself, just pause when this happens. Get curious, notice what's happening, and ask yourself, would I make this same decision if they weren't in the picture? If I'm being totally honest, who am I trying to please? And what part of me still believes I won't be loved if I stop performing? That last one is a big one, but it's also where freedom begins. It takes courage to stop performing. But the truth is, the people who really love you might surprise you. And even if they don't, you can still choose honesty over approval. You don't have to stop loving your parents to stop performing for them. You can still care, still show up, still honor your relationship with them, but you don't have to sacrifice your alignment in the process. You don't need their permission to be yourself, and you don't need to wait for them to be gone to start living honestly. I'm still doing this work. I've come a long way, but there are moments, small quiet ones, when that old tension shows up, the one that says, don't go too far, don't let them down. But I know now I'm not letting anyone down by being real. Let me know in the comments if any of this resonated with you. I hope you'll consider subscribing for more content like this. I do appreciate your time. I'll see you at the next one.